Okay, it looks like we're on YouTube now. Okay, so good afternoon, everybody, and well, it could be morning or evening wherever you're joining with us from. So hello, everybody. That covers wherever you're joining us from. So whether it's live on YouTube, or you'll be watching us later, or you're live on Zoom, it's always great to meet with our TTI family. If you're new to TTI, in fact, I'm looking at here and I'm looking on here and I think I recognize everybody's names. It's a small, cozy, familiar set of names here. So thank you for spending the time to join with us today. TTI stands for True Temperance International. And I'm just going to share my screen. My name is Sharon. I'm your, what's happened to my screen? Where's it gone? Okay. I did have something set up, but I think it's disappeared. Okay, not to worry, not to worry. We will bring it back. So yes, I'm your host today. Well, I'm not really your host. No, my husband's your host. I'm just filling in for him. Okay, so I'm kind of like a co-host today. And I am wondering have you got the PowerPoint on your laptop? That's why I can't find it, because it's not on here. Okay, that's fine. So yeah, so I'm Sharon Wallace. I'm not normally this disorientated, but I am today for some strange reason. Okay, so yes, and my husband Edgar will be sharing the screen and going through the promos. So I'll be quiet and I'll let him take over. When we're ready for you now, Edgar. So I've muted.
Good afternoon, all. My name is Edgar. I'm glad to be here. We're just going to go through a few promos with you. As you know, we've been focusing on remedies from heaven. This is season 4. I'd like to tell you what happened in seasons 1, 2, and 3, but I'm not able to. But we have a whole load of videos on YouTube that you can look at on different topics, subjects of interest. But thank you for being here. I'm going to do a few promo slides. This is what we did last week. We were focusing on water, natural remedies, and it was really interesting, and I appreciated it, even though I was talking through some of it. This is today's program. Mission Impossible.
No.
Sorry. Mission. I've got that in my mind. Mission Impossible. We're gonna do this today. Got a lovely presenter who's going to give you her understanding of being a missionary. That's the focus today. And Sharon has put some lovely questions together that we can ask. And also, if you have a question, maybe you were thinking, you know what, I want to be a medical missionary, and always wanted to get a little bit of information before I step out. This could be just a program for you. We have somebody who's very experienced. Her name is Irene, and sorry, Irene. I won't say her last name, and I'm going to tell you that in case I'm not. That's today's program. Right, we're not going to do the disclaimer today. I don't think we need to. We are continue to promote definitely, which is coming in August, the last bank holiday of the year, through till the beginning of September. Lots of different things that will be going on there. The lots of different presenters as well. Lots of different presenters as well. is that slide, is it in the slide? Okay, you can see all the presenters there. So we've got lots of different presenters. The presenters that you see there are not all of the presenters. And throughout the day, we'll be doing workshops. There'll be talks that we'll be having. There'll be interaction. Lots and lots of different things will be going on. We'll have our own like a natural shop. All different things. It could be aloe vera, it could be organic honey and different things, and essential oils that will be taking place that you can access. You've got people there, people that have met and actually built up friendships within the week. We're doing early morning exercise from 6:30. 6:15 to 6:50. So we were doing lots of different exercises. We had cooking demonstrations featured by Golden's Farms Cooking School, and also they will be doing the catering this year. We had, as I said earlier, that we had lots of different workshops going on. This is just one of them with David Bartholomew. I'm not going to focus on that slide. Obviously, all the catering is plant-based catering. We will not be doing catering with fresh foods. And you can see the lovely different colours and so on. And we expect high quality catering for this year. The food demonstration, the cooking demonstration went down very, very well. We had a good number of people come and participate and actually say yes. It was really, really nice. And this is a walk up the mountain. Some of the groups did, and they would say yes. It was exhilarating. And the views are, I'm sure if somebody was on here that came to Kefenli would say the views were really, 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 really nice. And this is just on the left-hand side, I don't know if it's on your right side, the Hackney crew, they all said that they would be coming back. They really had a good time. Now, if you're interested in Kefenli 2023, you can book by going to AHR Reformers, or you can go to TTI 777@gmail.com. And there's also telephone numbers there. I'll just leave it just for a moment. Leave a message, tell us that you're interested, and it might be that the person you call, you don't get them, but if you leave a message, we will get back to you. I want to also promote our website, True Temperance International, True Temperance International, and www.tti international.org. You can go on there. There's recipes, there's encouragement, there's different things on the website you can look at. Make a comment. You can go on there and just see what we're doing. We're lifting up the 8 health laws. You can see that there's recipes and there's lots of things on this. We're just encouraging you to go to our website and have a look. And also we're on other social medias, Facebook, Instagram, and so on. So you can check that out. Also, now you can also go onto our WhatsApp groups. So we have an Telegram, yes. Sorry, you can go on Telegram where we're encouraging you to, if you're women, join a women's group. If you're men, it's a men's group. But also, if you want spiritual encouragement, you can also join the spiritual health group. So again, I'll just leave this on just for a moment. If you want to a snapshot, a screenshot of those addresses, join our groups, and it's there so that we can encourage each other with health and spirituality, whether you're male or female. So that's just our Telegram groups. And that's it. There is one more thing that I would like to promote, and I'll do it later. So I'm going to hand you back to Sharon just for a moment.
Right. Just checking we haven't got an echo because we're in the same room, and that's worked out well. A nice smooth changeover. Sorry about the little delay there. Okay, so welcome those of you who have joined us since we began. It's great to have you with us. I hope you've had a lovely day, a nice restful weekend. Not too much excitement where you are, but just sufficient to keep you alert and ministering wherever you are. Those of you who may have families, I hope you're having a nice family time together. And if you're not with the family, maybe you've got a wider family, maybe a church family or friends or neighbors nearby that you're able to just, have some time together with others. It's good to have time apart with yourself, but it's also great to mix with people as well, especially if you live alone. It's good to tune in with others from time to time. And that's why we're here as well, because, some people do live alone, and this has been a good opportunity for them to come on and speak with others and to share and to learn together. So today is going to be no different, and we're going to have a little break after today. We'll have a few weeks of no TTI live, but of course, our videos are there on YouTube. So if you wish to go back onto YouTube and have a look and see if there's something that you've missed or something particular that you're looking for, you can put it in the search bar, TTI or True Temperance International, and then the word. So it could be lymphatic system, and you'll find that there's a couple of shows on the lymph system. It could be your dental health. It could be something to do with diabetes or your children's health or mental illness, mental health. There's so many other things. It could be hypertension, whatever it is. There's a lot on there. Or you may just want to just have a browse through and see what's available, men's health, etc. So much. Now I'm just going to clarify with Edgar, the thing that you wanted to do, is that going to be after the interview with Irene? Okay, all right. And so we've said enough, and hopefully waiting in the wings is our friend Irene Jergens. So would you like to put your, yay, here you go. Lovely to see you. Lovely to see you. Such a smiley, sunny looking expression on your face, because I know where you are, there is sunshine.
There's sunshine. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Excellent. So some of you may be familiar with Irene. She was at Kefenley last year with the Medical Missionary Group, and spoke on the 7 deadly
Stresses.
So I was going to say that the 7 deadly sins, and I thought that's not quite right. The 7 deadly stresses. And that was a wonderful seminar, really good session. So if you didn't get it, hopefully, Edgar, yeah, hopefully we'll be able to share some of the recordings very soon. And I'm thinking he was telling me this weekend. Maybe not. Hopefully he'll clarify that with us when he comes back on. So yes, so Irene is somebody that I've known for a while. We met many years ago. In fact, when was it that we first met? I mean, when did you come to Nottingham? What year was
2009.
that? When was that?
2009.
2009. So, yeah, that's, how many years ago is that? My maths aren't that good. Sorry?
14 years ago.
14 years. I was getting there. I'm just a bit slow. I had to get my fingers out and start counting. So, yes, so 14 years ago, and you haven't changed. You still look the same. Still look young as ever. Okay, I wish I could say the same, but there you go. Right, so I have a few questions for you, Irene. And are you ready to start?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great stuff. So those of you who are watching, feel free, if you do have some questions for Irene at the when we've gone through our little interview, feel free, you can write them in the chat as we go along, or you can ask her directly, depending on how much time we have, and she may well be able to answer your questions. If not, then we'll know somebody that can, or she may need a bit of time to go over it, think about it, and then come back to you, possibly in one of the groups as well. So let me call my questions up. Here we go. And they are as follows. So question number one to Irene. First of all, how long have you been working as a medical missionary?
So I was trained as a medical missionary in 2016, but I joined, I actually started working as a medical missionary in 2017. So that would be 6 years ago now, when I started as a proper working as a medical missionary with Medical Missionary Group in southern Scotland.
Okay, so whereabouts is the Medical Missionary Group located? You said southern Scotland. Which part? Where, like which major city is it close to? Because I just know Edinburgh, Glasgow, Aberdeen, and maybe
the closest city is Dumfries,
Mhm.
So we're about 2 hours south from Edinburgh and Glasgow, if you're familiar with that. And Dumfries is about 45 minutes from here. And also we're about an hour and a half from Carlisle, which is the last city in England before you get to Scotland.
So is that between Edinburgh and the UK then? Sorry, between Edinburgh and England?
Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah, it's closer to England than is Edinburgh or Glasgow.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to locate you now, so I'm kind of roughly guessing where you are. That's why. And Edgar was asking me, who trained you?
Who trained me? I was trained at Meat Ministries. So Meat Ministries is in Tennessee in the US, and it's headed by the Jacksons, Dr. Thomas Jackson and his wife. Yeah. And of course, when you do a training, it was a 4-month training, but then when you start the work, you learn a whole lot more. So I could say that Medical Missionary Group definitely trained me beyond my initial training. Yeah.
Okay, so it's an ongoing learning.
Always, yes, always.
Yeah, I'm sure when you see some clients or health guests, I'm not sure what terminology you use.
Yeah, we call our the people that come to our home sanitarium, we call them health guests.
Right. Okay. So yeah. So I'm sure you sometimes see some cases where you're thinking, oh, never seen this before. So you're going to be learning continuously as God gives you inspiration of how to work with each guest.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I've got a lot to get through here. There's about 10 or 12 questions. Okay. Well, so when we first met, I can call it now, 14 years ago, you came to Nottingham to be a Bible worker with a group of other young people. We had a campaign, I believe it was with Adam Ramden. Yes. And then after that, we had a group of Bible workers to work with the people that came along and attended the sessions. So why did you decide to become a medical missionary?
I was initially trained as a Bible worker at Arise the year before I came to Nottingham. And so me being in Nottingham was really practicing what I've just been taught at Arise. And from Nottingham, I went back to the Netherlands and did Bible work there. And I had made friends over the years, of course, in coming to England and traveling back and forth. And one of them introduced me to the Brown family, who is Medical Missionary Group. And in visiting them, they introduced me to medical missionary work, really. Now, I'd heard about medical missionary work, but I always thought, and that's how it's often presented in churches, I always thought it's the nurses, the dentists, the doctors that do some medical missionary work on the side, and you can call them when you need some help, or they make themselves available for health expos and stuff. And that's what I thought medical missionary work was. And I'm not medically inclined. So I thought medical missionary work isn't necessarily for me. And also, you learn that it's the right arm of the gospel. So I just thought I'm the left arm and someone else is the right arm, and then we can work together. But when I was introduced to medical missionary work by a medical missionary group, they introduced it and brought forth the quote that said, "We've come to a time where every member of the church is to be a medical missionary." And I thought, well, that includes me. I can't get around that one. And that's when I decided I'm going to be trained, and I'm going to do medical missionary work. And in learning true medical missionary work, I learned that it should never have been separated from Bible work. It should be one and the same thing. So that's why I decided to be trained as a medical missionary. No regrets there.
Wow, that's brilliant. That is so holistic. It's looking at a holistic approach to wellness, to health and wellness, spiritual, physical, mental, emotional, everything. Yeah, that's great. That's a great answer. Now, I did have another question, but we've kind of looked at that one already, because it was to do with where you trained. And we know you trained and you're still training, and yeah, it's a continual learning thing. But Edgar just threw one in. Sorry about this. You'll get a few ones like that unexpected. So, because I didn't expect it either. But he just said, and you may have kind of touched on it already, but he said, what's the difference between the medically trained individuals who may work at a health expo, or, speak to somebody, then person may come to them and say, "Oh, you're a nurse, I've got a problem. What can you do?" So what's the difference between the medically trained professionals and a medical missionary? Is that correct, Edgar? Yep, he's giving me a thumbs up. So he's saying, what's the difference?
Okay, that question, that answer can go very, very deep, and very long. So I'll keep it simple. Like I said, we're all called to be medical missionaries, but we're not necessarily all called to be nurses and doctors. But when we read the Bible and when we read the Spirit of Prophecy, you find that we're all meant to understand how our bodies function and what we can do to prevent and recover from disease, and that in a natural way. Now, most doctors would have been trained. When you ask someone who wants to be a doctor, what are you studying? They'll say they're studying medicine. So they'll tell you that they're not necessarily studying the body. They're not necessarily studying how to prevent disease. They're not really even studying how to overcome disease. They're studying medicine. And of course, you can use that to reach out to people who need help. There is a place, especially in emergencies, where you might need something along those lines. But medical missionaries look at the body, how the body functions, and how what God has placed in and around us to keep us well and healthy, and to regain health as well. So there's a focus on fresh air. There's a focus on the diet. There's a focus on drinking lots of water. So you go through all of those 8 steps, and especially there's a focus also on the mental health, because that is something that a regular doctor or nurse won't do either. And in the medical field, all these things are separated. And so if you have a spiritual problem, you go to the pastor. If you have a mental problem, you go to a social worker, or a psychologist or psychiatrist. If you have a physical problem, you go to the doctor or the nurse. But medical missionary work says, no, we're one being. And if there's a physical problem, it may well be related to a mental problem, and it may well be related to the fact that we don't have a clear understanding of who God is. So that's how I would simply answer that question.
Okay, it was a great answer, especially as you didn't even know the question was coming. So thank you so much for simplifying the answer. But yeah, wonderful, wonderful. There is definitely similarities and there are definitely differences. And that kind of leads me nicely on to my question 4, which was kind of preempting all these questions with the answers to the previous question. But here we go. Are there any similarities in the work as a Bible worker and as a medical missionary? And I've also added to that, are there areas where the work crosses over or complements each other? So yeah, so similarities, complements, crossing over.
Yeah, I did kind of already touch on it, but to answer that question, Bible work should really never be separated. There's a quote from a letter, but there are many of these kinds of quotes that says no line is to be drawn between the genuine medical missionary work and the gospel ministry. These two must blend. They are not to stand apart as separate lines of work. They are to be joined in an inseparable union, even as the hand is joined to the body. So they really should never have been separated. And the more I get to know medical missionary work, the more I understand that my Bible work that I initially did was incomplete. I helped people to understand the Bible, and there's a lot of value in that, and is needed, is necessary for people to be able to do that. But at the same time, these very same people had problems in their homes. They had problems with their health. They had problems with their mental well-being. And I couldn't offer any help in those lines because I just didn't know. I just knew how to explain that the dead are sleeping, or that hell doesn't last forever. So it's incomplete. And the beauty of medical missionary work is that it's a complete package. It still comes with giving Bible studies when people are asking. There are many people who have come here, who have come away saying, well, or have trained as a medical missionary with us. They were not even Adventists yet. And they've, at the end of the training or at the end of their stay here, they say, well, actually, what about baptism? I want to join this community.
Wow. Wow.
And that's how we started our Friday evening Bible study sessions that we've been doing for years now, where we've prepared people for baptism. We've had baptisms here. And so it goes hand in hand. And many people are actually open to receive Bible studies because of medical missionary work, because they've been helped on all other lines where they needed help. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I can definitely testify as well. A similar thing. So some of you may be aware that I am involved in the Homeless Ministries project. And last night when we met up at church, we were, packing the stuff, packing the trolleys. Every now and then I feel inspired to pick up a Bible and some other books. It could be Happiness and Health or Health and Wellness. I can't remember the title. And there's another one called something to do with hope or something. I can't remember. But I took up a Bible, and there was this lady that came to us, her and her, I think she said he was her boyfriend. And so we met their physical needs. We gave them some water, we gave them hot food and some clothing. And then I was talking to her and she was asking, so where are you from? Where are you based? So I told her about our church and that we meet on Saturdays. And she said, so if I come to your church tomorrow, would I be able to get a Bible? And I said, well, as it happens, and I went to my backpack and pulled one out. And I said, I've got one right here and it's for you. And she was so happy. And then she went over to her boyfriend and she showed it to him, and he came back and he said, oh, thank you so much. I'm hoping this will teach her something. She'll learn something from it. And she was just so happy to receive her own Bible. And it wasn't like a small one, it's a, good sized one, but she was able to put it in her rucksack as well. And I said, but still, you're welcome to come to church tomorrow as well. We'd love to see you there. But enjoy your Bible. So yeah, it's a holistic thing, and it is really us that separates this. We pull layers off and say, oh, that's for that department, that's for that department, but we come as a whole package. We are a being that has emotional health issues, spiritual health issues, mental health, the whole lot. So yeah, wonderful. So thank you for that. My next question is the work difficult, and what sort of hours is your service available for each day? So I'll say it again, is the work that you're doing difficult, and what are you, are you like 9 to 5, kind of what kind of hours do you do with your service?
Okay, so that's a bit, well, medical missionary work is really seeing a need and helping to relieve that need. So you're always available if somebody needs help. That doesn't mean that you're working 24/7, but that does mean that you're available. It's like the Bible says, be ready in season and out of season. Now we receive our guests, usually they're not here for a day, they're here for a few days, usually 6 days, usually 12 days, according to their needs. And so in those weeks, we're available to them, and we just live life together. So it's not a 9 to 5 job, but it's living life together, in which we get breaks during the day, but also we tend to have sessions and have some time off after session. And at the same time, we also are available for phone consultations. But like I said, it's not a 9 to 5 thing. It's whenever there's a need. And then we make sure that we do get the breaks that we need as well.
Yeah. Okay, so when you have your breaks, do you go back home to Holland, or you just meet friends? And
we do. Yeah, that we do different things. I actually went back to the Netherlands about a month ago now. I tend to go about twice a year to see my family, especially, and loved ones there. But yeah, we do many things in our weeks off. A lot also is admin, phone consultations, preparing for the next session, or preparing for speaking engagements, and things like that. So, and gardening as well. We love to spend time in the garden, planting food, and so those are some things that we do. Yeah.
Okay, now excuse my ignorance, because I keep saying Holland and you keep saying the Netherlands. Is it the same thing? Or, the Netherlands, a group of islands of which Holland is kind of one of them? I'm not sure.
The Netherlands is not a group of islands, but it's a group of provinces. And Holland are 2 provinces within the Netherlands. But I think as a country, we've presented ourselves as Holland to the rest of the world. To promote it as a tourist country, we just always say Holland, but it's actually called the Netherlands. And the province that I'm from is not in Holland; it's in the Netherlands. So.
Oh, okay. So that was a subtle correction. Every time I said Holland, you kept saying
I just tend to not say Holland because it's not. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I stand corrected. Thank you for that, Irene. Right. So my next question is, I think you're going to find this one difficult to answer, but we'll see. Okay, so what do you find the most rewarding about the work that you do?
What I find the most rewarding is people's hearts being changed by the work. People coming here heavy-hearted, broken, and actually coming and finding hope again, and finding a life again, finding a relationship with God. That is by far the most rewarding of our work. Yeah.
Okay, so you answered that one quicker than I thought you would have done, but yeah, it was a direct answer, definitely. Because as medical missionaries, we do want people to be well physically, holistically, and that includes spiritual wellness. And there was a presentation I did a couple of weeks ago. I ended my slides with one of individual who was sick, and it ended up that the little lump that they had in their throat got bigger, and it was actually some kind of throat tumor cancer. And when they called for the medical missionary, it was too late for them to work with the physical ailment, but the person, it was requested that the person be baptized. And so they managed to baptize the individual, or they gave their heart to the Lord. Whether it was, I can't remember if it was a physical immersion, I'm not sure, maybe not. It could have been by profession of faith. And the following day, the person died. So the work as a medical missionary was to help them to die well, so that in the resurrection, they will be resurrected well.
Yeah, definitely. We have these experiences as well, where people come here and they're like, okay, the doctor told me I have 3 months to live. This is my 3rd month. What can you do for me? And you do what you can to relieve their pain and their suffering for the present time. But what we also found out in speaking with this person is that they were carrying a burden of remorse and regret that needed to be lifted. And with the work that we were able to do, he lived another 9 months. And in those months, he was able to be reconciled with his son. In those 9 months, he was able to rest assured that God had forgiven him. And that's exactly what you're saying here. You sometimes medical missionary work is help people to meet their Lord and Savior. That's always the outcome, the desired outcome of your medical missionary work. And sometimes that means people are healed physically here. Sometimes that means people are resting in Christ. And that is still rewarding. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. That's great. It's a beautiful story. And question number 7. Okay. Before we do that one, there was another one that came to mind, because you were saying that you've got the complement of the Bible worker work with the medical missionary work, and the two do come together. So if someone has, for instance, a bad back, and you're teaching them something, I mean, how is the Bible going to help with their bad back?
Well, first of all, the question is, why do they have a bad back? Is it because of, there's so many reasons why somebody can have a bad back. You want to focus on what is the cause, because then we can relieve the problem. Sometimes people sometimes people have a bad posture because of the burdens that they're carrying, spiritual, mental burdens that they're carrying. And so in that case, when you've tried everything else, or while you're trying everything else to relieve their pain, you focus also on, okay, what are you carrying with you? And bringing them to Christ, who can relieve them of that suffering. Another way to help them is well, maybe the bad back is because of constipation, and you help relieve the constipation. And in the process, they're saying, well, these people actually took the time to help me with my bad back. And while the doctors couldn't do anything, these people could help me. And I kind of like them because they were friendly with it too. And then that gives you then an opportunity to introduce them. Well, actually, we do Bible studies. Would you be interested? Or we have Sabbath services. Would you be interested? I have a book here. It's called Ministry of Healing, and it really has made a huge difference in my personal life. Would you be interested? And that's another thing, is that very often your own personal testimony, my own bad back can help me to communicate to someone else, well, actually, my bad back is because of these problems, but I found relief here and God answered my prayers. And so that's another way to use, in which medical missionary work and the gospel go hand in hand. Yeah.
Thank you for that question. You're leading me to another one, but that one's coming later. That one's definitely coming later. Okay. Yeah. So, is there anything that you don't like about the work that you do?
There isn't really anything I don't like, but what makes the work a challenge is that there are so many people suffering, so many people that need help, and so very few people that actually take up the work and do something. Our church is, we looked it up just during the week, 23 million people are Seventh-day Adventists across the world. Every single one of them, God says, should be a medical missionary. And if every single one of them was, there could be a lot of relief from suffering. And another point is that most of the people, or a lot of the people that we get phone calls from, are actually Seventh-day Adventists who are dealing with lifestyle diseases that our health message can relieve. If we as a church would actually follow our message, then we would not be suffering so much ourselves, and also we would be reaching out so much more. So what I find hard about the work is that there's so very few who are actually taking it up, and so very many who are suffering. Yeah.
Did you say 23 million? Wow. You know what? Your response reminded me of a video I saw this week. With some of you may be familiar with a missionary called David Gates. Mm-hmm. And he was sharing an experience of another person who was working alongside Mother Teresa. And they'd known each other for a while, so he was working with her. And then he didn't disclose to her that he was a Seventh-day Adventist. But somehow along the line, she found out. And she said, "Oh, you're Seventh-day Adventist?" And he went, "Yeah, I am," kind of sheepishly. And she said, "So why didn't you tell me?" And he said, "Well, I thought, if I told you, you wouldn't want to work with me." And she said, "On the contrary." And then she pulled out a book. She said, "I have based my ministry on this book." And she pulled out Ministry of Healing. Wow. She pulled out Ministry of Healing. And he said, what a slap in the face was that? Because there's so many, 23 million. There's plenty of people who are not Seventh-day Adventists that have accepted the health message and are moving forwards with it. They may not necessarily have accepted the rest of the Adventist beliefs, lifestyles, doctrines, but they've definitely accepted the health message. And that is a testimony to a recommendation to everybody from whatever walk of life you're in, whatever your religious persuasion, that God's ways work. They really do. So yeah, I can see when you said there's not necessarily something that you don't like about the work, but what makes you upset is the lack of embracing of the work amongst so many people.
Yeah. When Matthew 24 verse 14 says, "And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world," it is the gospel of the holistic gospel that reaches people physically, mentally, and spiritually. So this is actually the work that is going to finish, that's going to finish or bring an end to all suffering in this world. When we truly embrace this gospel, physically, mentally, and spiritually, then the end shall come. And that's what we're all longing for. We want Jesus to come back. We believe he's coming back soon, but we're not doing anything to speed up the process. Jesus is like, I'm ready, but you guys are being a bit slack here. Come on. So yeah.
And I laugh, but it is sad.
It's sad.
It is sad because in the meantime, more and more people struggling, suffering unnecessarily, and that's amongst our brethren as well. So it is sad. Okay, so my next question is, are all of your clients Christians? And if not, oh, okay, we've touched on this one already, but anyway, are all of your clients Christians? And if not, do you invite them all to make a decision for Christ?
So not all of them are Christian. We've had spiritualists, we've had Buddhists, we've had Muslims, we've had people of all walks of life, atheists. But we also have had, what I'm saying is every single person here that comes here, we encourage them to have a deeper walk with God, because most people who come, whether they call themselves Seventh-day Adventists or something else, don't have necessarily a true knowledge of who God is. Most people who are suffering are partially also suffering because they need a deeper relationship with God. And so with every single person that comes here, we seek to introduce them to God, to who he truly is, the loving God that cares for them, the creator God, the God who wants to save them. And so together, with every single person together, we seek to know God more. Now, with people who come here who aren't Christians, we let them know we are. And with everything we do, we pray. You don't have to take part in it, but please do know that we are Christians, and that and most people who come here, even if they're not Christians, they are pleasantly surprised that actually this Jesus is pretty remarkable, and I want to get to know him better. And that's what we're going for. So it's not sitting somebody down and saying, well, you're a Muslim, let me tell you about this God. But it's through our actions introducing Christ to them, and through the things we read. We like to read Ministry of Healing with people, because even if people aren't Christians and they might be a bit uncomfortable opening the Bible, the Ministry of Healing points to Christ, points to the Bible, but also helps to introduce certain topics that people are comfortable with, and together we learn of him. Yeah.
Okay, because I was going to ask, how does getting a deeper relationship with God work for somebody who's an atheist? But I suppose you're saying by looking at something like the Ministry of Healing, they are looking at the principles, the health principles. Yeah. And then you look at the person who put the health principles together. With anything, you want to see how these things work. And then if you can get to the manufacturer and find out, oh, well, you're going to know a bit more. And then you realize that the manufacturer is the person you've been denying all these years. And but you don't believe them. But yet the recommendation is working. So yeah. You don't believe the manufacturer, but you believe the recommendation that they're giving. Something to think about there.
And another thing that we do during our worship sessions, aside from opening the Ministry of Healing or opening the Bible, is just saying, what questions do you have? What do you struggle with when it comes to the idea of God or the idea of this created world? And people can come with their questions, and we freely discuss these things. And I think also the fact that they can be who they believe they are without us judging them, and just being able to reason together helps people to kind of express. And most people, though they call themselves atheists, will find that actually, what you're saying there makes a lot of sense, or actually maybe I do kind of believe there's something out there. And then you continue with whatever questions they have.
Okay. So you can always find a way to minister to individuals.
Always.
Physically and spiritually. That's brilliant. So you don't necessarily say, will you make a decision for Christ, but you share with them, and it's for them to decide whether or not they want to make that decision.
Yeah. And encouraging them, because when people leave from here, we we sit down with them and say, okay, how are we going to go forward? And so because of you spent the whole week with them, you know what their struggles are, you know what their issues are, you put together a plan. And so in that plan, you can also say, well, maybe you can start talking to God every morning for about 5 minutes. And, you know, it doesn't hurt. And then, so that's another way to encourage them. So, and then there's aftercare, of course, where you call them, you pray with them, you say, how are you doing? Have you given this God thing some more thought? Have you joined our Bible studies? Because that's another thing. Because we have our online Bible studies and our online church services, when people leave from here, they can continue joining us online. And that way also a lot of people gain a greater knowledge of who God is.
Yeah, I love that. I really do. I really love that. Especially when you said, try maybe 5 minutes in the mornings, getting to speak to him. Beautiful, beautiful. No harm done at all. Okay, so I've got on here question number 9. Am I correct in saying that you're from Holland? Well, okay. We know you're from the Netherlands.
Yes.
I heard that this is a beautiful place in the world. Do you miss there, or what I've put? Do you miss the place now that you're in Scotland? Okay, now that you're in Scotland, is Scotland home, or would you still say the Netherlands is home?
I call Scotland home.
Okay. Need charge on this.
The country here is a lot more beautiful. It's hilly. It's widespread without anybody being there. In the Netherlands, though there are, there's nature, but wherever you go, you see people. Wherever you go, you hear the motorway. So it's small with lots of people, and so it's quite built up. The country itself, I don't miss it much, but of course I miss my family. I miss my loved ones over there. So there's that. But the country itself, it's okay. I miss certain shops sometimes. Like, I need this. I know where to get it, but it's across the ocean, across the sea.
Yeah. So it's weighing up the best of what you've got, and you're loving Scotland.
I'm loving Scotland. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Okay. Maybe there's a bit of, if you look through the bloodstream, the heritage, maybe there's a bit of Scottish in there somewhere. And that was me trying to put on a Scottish accent, but I'm not very good at that.
No,
but my surname is Wallace, and my mother's surname was Donaldson. So yeah, there you go. Maybe that's who I
have Scottish blood. I don't think I have any.
You never know. Okay, probably not. Well, we're all out of many one people, so we're all, I know that's a Jamaican saying, but we are all from one family, the family of God. Yeah. So this world, you have access to wherever you want to go. Well, we should all, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're coming up to the end of my last few questions now. I've got the last one on here, and then I've got 2 more that I sent you just recently. So, sorry, decline that phone call. What would you say to encourage somebody who was considering doing medical missionary work? Where should they begin?
Okay, so what would I say to someone who's considering it? I would say go for it, definitely. We're all called to be medical missionaries. And so since we're all called to be medical missionaries, it can only be inspired by the Holy Spirit that you are considering it. Where would you begin? I would begin by doing medical missionary training. We are actually starting medical missionary training tomorrow. And so go to missionschool.org and check out the information there. I can also give you my phone number so you can contact me directly. But definitely, I would say do training. Our training is a week long. So that one is not too hard to join. The one that I did was 4 months, and I can understand that for some people that's hard to take out a whole 4 months and go to the other side of the world. I had that freedom, but the one that we're starting tomorrow is from Sunday to Sunday. It's very in-depth and yet very good to follow. What I would also say is, when you have done training, use what you have learned. I think that's one of the things I picked up even when I was doing my evangelism training. One thing that was repeated to me a lot was, or that I really took on board was, if you don't use it, you'll lose it. And I have found that because after Arise, I immediately went and did Bible work, I gained a lot more and didn't lose what I had learned. Whereas those in my class who kind of went back into regular lives, maybe to uni or to work, and didn't really do much with what they had learned, they really did lose it. And the same is true for my medical missionary training. After I was trained, I immediately looked for a place where I could join, so I could continue learning, but also not lose what I had learned. So if you're doing a training, you don't have to then go and join a mission, but start applying it to your own life and see the changes. And as you see the changes, you then become a testimony to those around you, and they'll start asking questions, and they become then a mission for you to help. And the more you help people, the more you learn. So that's definitely something I would say. And read our books. We have many books. Medical Ministry of Healing is one that we've mentioned. Start reading it and start applying everything that you learn from it, and you'll find that that you will find health. And sometimes you find that you find relief of things that you didn't even know you were suffering from. But definitely apply what you learn and seek to learn more. Yeah, I would say.
Sorry, I was just reading that message in the chat. And so, yes, Irene has put the in the chat the website. It's their missionschool.org. For those of you who are on YouTube, I'm sure you know what I'm saying, but I'll just spell it out. Mission School, MISSIONSCHOOL.org. Okay, and then you said you can also make, and Irene has also put her phone number in there. Am I at liberty to read your number out, knowing this is going on YouTube all over the world? I won't do that. I won't do that. Okay, that's fine. If anybody wants to get hold of Irene, then contact us, or you have the website on there.
Website is there.
Missionschool.org. And those of you who wish to contact Irene, you can do so through the website. Okay, yeah, I thought I better not read that number out. Okay, because you don't know. Right, so thank you so much for answering those questions. Now, again, you have led me into the next one, because I was going to ask you about your own personal experience, because you said, sorry, someone's in the waiting room. You said that the best way to start is to work with yourself.
Yeah.
I don't know how to use somebody else's phone. I'll go back to my own. Right. You said start with yourself and see how it works. So my question to you is, have you personally experienced the benefit of the medical missionary natural remedies on your own health? And if so, is there anything that you'd be happy to share with us, that something that you did perhaps and you reaped the benefit?
Yeah, definitely. I personally was not well for many years. From when I was 15. When I was 15, I had appendicitis that grew into a big abscess about the size of a melon, and I was very sick for for 2 months. I wasn't well, and then I recovered, but my skin was damaged. And from that time, so when I was 15, I had stomach aches, and that never went anywhere. And with everything I ate, I had more pain. Even when I was drinking water, I had more pain, and it would just never go. And I became afraid to eat, afraid to drink. I really wasn't well. for many years, this was the case until I actually became, or I was a health guest here with Medical Missionary Group. And so by myself, I'd already started making changes. So I stopped eating anything white. So white rice, white pasta, white flours, anything white I didn't eat. So I started eating more fibers. Then I started taking away the meat and the cheese, because I lived a regular life before that, a very unhealthy lifestyle, but a very regular lifestyle, actually, that many people would just consider normal. And I had already started making those changes, took away the dairy, but it didn't seem to really make any difference. And there were quite a few things that I said, oh, I can't eat beans, I can't eat this, I can't eat that. And so by the time I got to Medical Missionary Group, I thought I'm doing everything. So I did a cleanse, a detox, and that made it a big difference already. And then it was about maintaining. My pain continued, though, for some time. Part of it was because I was dealing also with a lot mentally, and that needed to be addressed, and that was addressed. And then also, one of the things I really, really struggled with was water drinking. And so I had to pray. Every morning when I woke up, I said, Lord, today, help me to drink enough water. And I was aiming for 2 liters. And every day I would pray. And God literally heard that prayer and would help me to drink water. One thing that I did was I started drinking warm water, because that would cause less pain than cold water. So that made a difference. But the real difference came when Jackie actually suggested maybe you should drink 3 liters. And I was like, no way, I cannot do that. Wow. I'm already struggling with 2. But I decided, you know what, it doesn't hurt to try. And I found out that made, like, with everything we'd already done, and then on top of that, hydration, that actually relieved me of the pain. And now I still need to drink 3 liters a day. I don't have any problem doing that. I don't struggle with it anymore. And it's actually very doable if you space it out throughout the day. And I can live without pain. And that I'm eternally grateful for. Yeah. And I can eat again. There were so many things that I was like, no, I can't eat beans, can't eat this, can't eat that. And now I love beans, and they're my best friends. And yeah.
Oh, okay. I love that testimony. Yeah, to go from struggling to drink, and then you're getting 2 liters in, and then 3 liters. Wow, I don't know if you saw my eyes widen, but they really did at that one. So yeah, I love that testimony. Wonderful, wonderful. And so that means that when I met you 14 years ago, you were still struggling.
Yeah, very much.
And the thing is, I would never have known that, because it's something that you carried with you. You looked a picture of health. So there's no way I would have known that. You're saying, no, I was not. You see, it's wrong to make assumptions, people. You just don't know. We are all struggling for one reason or another. Everybody has their difficulties. And so I really appreciate you sharing that with us. And I hope that somebody can say they've benefited from hearing your testimony. Now, before we open the floor up for others to ask you any questions or general questions, they might want to share their experience of being a medical missionary briefly. Before we open up, I'm just going to ask you for one more question. And I think you know which one that's coming up. And I asked Irene if she would be happy to share with us a testimony of a health guest that she's worked with. She's going to keep it anonymous because we don't, it's personal. But if she's happy to share a testimony of somebody who she's worked with, and how, unless we've already covered it, and how it went. So yeah, over to you again.
Yeah, so I'm going to tell you about a lady. Now, there's so many stories that I could share. But I want to tell you about a lady who came here, and she was not a Christian. She called up and she said, well, I want to come. I feel that I need to come. I have breast cancer, but I'm not a Christian and I don't intend to join any of your sessions. I just want to come for my health. And she came. The interesting thing also was that her husband that was bringing her was going to stay in a hotel. He could stay here, but within the family, it was decided he's going to stay somewhere else. When he got there, he found out they weren't going to feed him, and there wasn't anything around there where he could eat. And we just encouraged him again. You can just stay here. You're free to kind of stay here, and also we'll make sure you have plenty to eat. And so he ended up staying as well. Now, this lady, like I said, wasn't going to join any of our worship sessions, but the first, I think the first or the second day that we always start our day with exercise, and then we give them their drinks, or we start the day with their drinks and a prayer, and then we have exercise. Then we give more drinks once they're doing the detox, and then after exercise, we say, okay, now we meet in the living room for worship. And so one of those days, she was there, and she sat all the way at the back of our living room by the door, and she looked kind of like I'm not feeling any of this, but she was there. And so, like I said, we like to read from the Ministry of Healing, and we gave her one of the books and we discussed it together. She took it to her room and she started reading it. And of course, she's heard our discussions as well, what we gained from the book, the blessings that we received from it. She took it and she started reading it for herself. In the meantime, also, she's talking to us about the things that she's struggling with, the people that she's angry with, because she came, yes, she had breast cancer, but she was also a very, very angry person. She had gone through so much in her life, and just very, very angry person. And you could see that in her whole demeanor and how she spoke to others. And of course, that was one of the things that we, on a personal one-to-one, discussed with her as well. So we at some point met her in her room to bring another drink or something, and she was like, I've been reading this book and I'm realizing that I need to forgive. And of course, that's also from the conversations that we would have had with her. She's like, I'm angry with so many people. And then she was like, I need to forgive them. And so she made a list of all the people that she needed to forgive. And she started she didn't just forgive them, she started calling them and sending text messages to all these people she needed to forgive, but also people that she needed to ask forgiveness from. And she started sending text messages, and and people that she didn't speak to for many years were so elated to hear from her, so happy to hear from her. And she was so surprised, like, these people are actually happy to hear from me. And from that, she changed into a whole new person, a person who was so cheerful and so happy and so free. Now, there's a lot more to the story, and I won't go into all the detail of it. But she started dancing. When we were in the exercise room, we have the rebounders there, and she was bouncing, but she wasn't just bouncing, she was dancing. She started dancing with her husband, who she had been so angry to for such a long time. And he, also being an atheist, he joined our, he would bring his meals to his room and he would eat there, but he started joining our meals, and he started talking to the children who have a ministry of their own, and speaking to the guests and in ministering to them and asking questions. And this lady also, she started joining she became the center of our worship sessions, because she started asking questions. She would raise her hand and she'd be like, if God is love, and if God is there, then why did this happen? And why did that happen to me? And all these questions started coming out. And she was able to accept that, okay, God is there and he loves me. And she was able to let go of so many people she was angry with. She was able to let go of her grandmother, who had died 50 years before, no longer, 60 years before. And who had she'd always been angry with the fact that she had died and she needed her. And the grandmother would keep visiting her in her dreams and in her life. And she was able to say, okay, my grandmother, I've learned now, is sleeping. You need to stay sleeping. I don't want to see you anymore. And she to let go. She was free. So she left here free. She was going to come back. She was going to join our training. And she did, actually. She was there online with us for a while. And her lump started shrinking as well. Now, what happened, because her lump started shrinking, the doctors got back on her back and said, we can do something now. We can give you this and you have more of a chance to recover. And so she took some of the medication, and that actually made her worse, made her deteriorate. And she eventually was, the beginning of this year, she fell asleep, which obviously is very sad. But at the same time, we have seen her go from this woman who had been angry for 70 years. Finally, she had found freedom. She had found freedom in Christ. And we are looking forward to seeing her again by and by. And so we praise God for this beautiful woman that we were able to serve.
Thank you so much for that testimony. Wow. That is beautiful. Oh man, if there's anybody who is thinking, you know what, maybe should I become a medical missionary? You might not necessarily get a story exactly like that one, but I'm sure you'll have so many testimonies that you can just...
Every story is different. Every story is different, but every story is valuable, and everybody's experience is valuable. So yeah, you won't get the same story, but you will get people that need Christ desperately. And you will also recognize that you need Christ desperately, and your own story will start to develop. In Isaiah 43, verse 10, I think it says, "You are my witnesses, saith the Lord, and my servants whom I have chosen, that you may know and understand that I am God." I'm kind of paraphrasing there, but what that verse is always such a marvel to me, because God is saying there, you're my witnesses, you're the servants that I've chosen, that you may know that I'm God. So it's not even only about all the people that we're going to reach, but God says, I want to reach you, and the best way I can reach you is if you become a missionary, because you start to realize that you're a mission field.
Yeah.
And the best way to find Christ is to be what Christ was, which was a medical missionary.
Amen. Thank you so much, Irene. My heart's been touched, and I'm so glad that God inspired us to ask you to come on here and share with us your experiences as a medical missionary, as a young woman growing up in today's society, and God's call for you on, his calling in your life to work. There's a song that says, if I cannot preach like angel, or if I cannot preach like Paul, you can share the love of Jesus. You can say he died for all. I can't remember the title of the song, but I think some of you may be familiar with it. That has been amazing, a wonderful journey with us this afternoon. And I'm wondering if there's anybody on the platform that's listening, including those of you who are on YouTube, if there are any questions that anybody might have for Irene. I know there was one question, and I kind of touched on it because it was more of a personal consultation question to do with the bad back, but the person has now come off the platform. But they heard your response when I was talking about, if you got a bad back, and you mentioned a few things as to reasons why somebody could be having a bad back. So thank you for that. We kind of combined that question in another question and got the answer. Maybe the answer they wanted to hear. I'm not sure.
If not,
sorry?
If not, they can contact me.
Yeah, and she was on when your number was on the screen. So I'm opening this up for anybody else if they have any questions. I know there was one with regards to how do I something to do with working in where can someone work as a medical missionary? That was a question from Francette. So you did say that there is the training that's starting tomorrow with the missionsschool.org. So you can contact them and find out more about it. If you've missed, sorry? Edgar's asking, are there any places for tomorrow? And also, if you've missed that one, when would the next one be?
Okay. There definitely are more places for tomorrow. So yeah, contact me or go to the website missionsschool.org to find out more about that. You can still join. It's not too late. The next training will be in the autumn. So yeah, we don't have an exact date for that yet, but it will be October likely. Yeah.
So that would be after our health retreat over in Kefenly, Wales. And as far as I'm aware, you will be coming along there with us.
By the grace of God, yes.
Yeah, by the grace of God. We look forward to seeing you there again, live and in the flesh, along with the Brown family and Michaela and her cookbook and everybody else with their ministry, the children with their singing ministry, etc., and Jackie as well, Jackie Brown. So does anybody have any questions? I've not seen any hands raised. Some of you may have come on later. We're speaking with Irene Jergens. Did I say that right? Okay, speaking with Irene Jergens, and she's sharing with us about Mission Possible. Okay, there has been a question in the chat and it has been responded to, which is go ahead.
I just, the question, where can someone work as a medical missionary? Of course, there's the training, so you can find out more from there. And we also do in-home training for those who have done the online training. But you can work anywhere as a medical missionary, and anywhere where there are people who have need, you can work as a medical missionary. And sometimes that just means you continue where you are. But you are trained as a medical missionary, and people at work may have a headache, and you can reach out to them. People, the neighbors might have a problem, and you can reach out to them. So you can work anywhere. Now, if you wanted to really join another ministry, you could do some research. There aren't many places like this, sadly, but there are places around the country. Well, not so much around the country. There's Manor House, of course. And then there's us, and then you can set up your own as well. That's always an option, but then there are other places around the world. So if you wanted to know more, again, I could probably help out a bit more. It really depends on where you are in life and where you can be and where God is leading you. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So there's an individual who came on late and they didn't get your phone number in the chat. So if that can be placed again, they can always go to the website. So the website is there. Irene was happy to share that with an individual who's on there in the chat, the number. And okay, so I thought you'd all have lots of questions. So if there's nobody else that wishes to ask a question, you're welcome, Betty Ann. Okay, you're very welcome. Okay, this is whilst Irene's here, you might think, okay, I'm going to ask Edgar if he can check on YouTube to see if there's any questions. If there's, maybe I've covered it all with these, I don't know, maybe 14, 15 questions I've asked. Okay, so there is a question that's come up, and I suppose we're going to generalize it because, so there's no questions on YouTube. We're going to generalize this question because obviously we're talking about somebody that's going to need a personal consultation. But so we're going to ask what can be done. Oh, and you know what? You see, there's so much we can do. I'll give my answer and then I'll hand over to Irene. So someone's asked, what can be done for challenging behaviors such as autism? And there are many other, and I'm assuming this is this in a child or an adult? Although either way, it can still work. Okay, so in a young adult. Right, so one of the things that I know and have seen many testimonies of individuals who have used it is an essential oil called lavender. Okay, a therapeutic grade essential oil. And that's one of the things that has been used for many people who, not only in humans, in pets as well. So you may have a pet that's just agitated, constantly agitated. And depending on the pet, you could, and how you use it, you obviously have to learn how to use these things. You don't just smother them in the oils. But yeah, it's something that can be used to help. It has a calming effect. But I'm not saying that that's the answer to autism. I'm nowhere am I saying that, because it's a lot more complex than that. But that's one of the things that can be used to calm an individual down who may be just lively, constantly lively, and that is using lavender essential oils. But there's a lot more to it than just saying, okay, just put an oil on it and that's the answer. There's going to be a lot more to that. So but yeah, so Irene, what would you have to say for somebody who is a young adult or even a child or an older person who has challenging behaviors? Some may say it's a combination of spiritual and chemical imbalance. It could be hormonal. How would you answer that question?
Yeah. What I would say is the acronym that we work with is God's Plan, which stands for Godly Trust, Open Air, Daily Exercise, sunlight, proper rest, lots of water, always temperate, and nutrition. When you apply these things in any person, whether their problems are, whatever their problems are, and definitely also for autism, you will find that there are changes possible. So when you look at godly trust, is introducing them to God. Now with autism, of course, there are challenges. And you can, because autism is such a wide spectrum, you as the person who actually knows them knows how to introduce God to them and help the person to have a relationship with God. Then there's open air. Spending time outdoors makes a huge difference for any of us, and also for. So whether it's is anxiety or stresses or just restlessness, being out in the fresh air makes a huge difference on the mind. Daily exercise also makes a huge difference in how the mind processes things, how the mind processes work. And so there's daily exercise, sunlight. There might be a deficiency in vitamin D, and also the Bible says it's good for the eyes to behold the sun. There's a difference in our mental processes whether we spend the time indoors or whether we go outside where there's more light. The light actually helps our minds to our mental processes again. So there's that proper rest. Again, see what you can do to regulate sleep and wake times. And again, that will have a positive impact on the mind. Lots of water. Most of us are dehydrated, and that has an effect on the mind. Usually when people are dehydrated, they also are very agitated. And that's whether they have autism or whether they don't. And so making sure that we're not dehydrated makes a huge difference. Always temperate, again, what we eat and how we eat and when we eat. And then there's nutrition, which kind of comes in line with that. What we eat, again, has a huge impact on the mind and on the mental processes. Now, also with always temperate, you can also look at what do they do on a daily basis. Very often when it comes to autism, we think, well, they're autistic, so they can't do this, they can't do that, they can't have this, they can't have a regular job, they can't. So, and we have a tendency to let them do what they want to do because they have autism, they can't help it. But they can. You can help them to do useful things, and doing useful things really helps our minds to feel accomplished and to feel like we're making a difference. And so to get away from things like computer games and watching TV and listening to certain types of music, all of these have an impact on the mind. And so with autism, there are many things you can do to help with those kind of challenges. Aside from, of course, Sister Sharon mentioned lavender oil, which definitely can help. There are also teas that can help with like things like fennel, hops, skullcap, chamomile. All of these are very good for the nervous system, and therefore also for the mind and the mental processes.
And that's also addressing things like the balance in the gut. So for the gut microbiome, if that's out of balance, then that can affect many body systems, and many, there is the argument that a lot of our illnesses start from the gut, and that includes mental illness. So we do need to be mindful of what's going in and how we manage the timing. Even, like, yes, we'll be drinking water, but are we drinking and eating at the same time? That's going to disturb your gut microbiome hugely, and you may be doing yourself more harm than good, depending on the timing of your eating and your drinking. One other person who's been on here, another medical missionary, and thank you so much for your response there, Irene. She was saying, address those 8 doctors first, and when you've consulted those 8 doctors, and if you still have a problem, then you can come and see me, because she was a medical doctor. But she said a medical missionary doctor as well. But she says, address whatever the issue, address those 8 doctors first, and if you still have a problem, then you can come and see me, but you're gonna have to pay for it because it's a private consultation. So those 8 doctors are free, they're accessible for everybody. And whether you use God's Plan, New Start, there's other acronyms as well. Some may say there's more than 8 doctors, but whatever the natural remedies are there, and God's response, God's answer to our queries are there as well. So this has been an amazing time. Thank you so much for everybody who's been on here with your questions, with your attentiveness, and thank you, the Lord, for helping the technology to work as well. Halfway through, my laptop said, needs recharging now. So thankfully, we plugged into the power source in more ways than one, and we continued smoothly. So I don't believe we have any more questions. So thank you so much, Irene. The more time you spend with an individual, the more you become like them. I'm listening to you speak and I'm thinking, you're sounding like Jackie. Who is it? Does Jackie sound like you, or do you sound like Jackie?
I sound like her.
Pardon?
I think I started to sound like her.
There's definitely a similarity in your voices, definitely.
Unintentionally, but it happened.
It does. The more time you spend with an individual, the more you become like them. So bear this in mind, everybody. Okay, if there's somebody that's not the best influence on your life, I'm not saying cut them out, but perhaps we can adapt and pray about it, and then the right person can influence the individual more so. Okay, and we hope that that's the ultimate influence is going to be Christ Jesus. So I don't see any more hands. I saw some questions. I think they were dealt with, and some thank yous. Yep, brilliant, excellent. So Edgar, you said that you had something that you wanted to share with everybody. And someone was, and I was also saying that earlier on, Irene was in Kefenly last year, and she did led out for one of the workshops. Was it recorded? I think it was, So is what you're going to share with us something to do with recordings?
Yes.
Okay, right. I will be quiet now. I will mute and allow Edgar to unmute, and hopefully we won't get feedback.
Hello, everybody. I'm going to share a quick promo for Catherine Lee, and then I'm going to give you the news that I want to share with you. It's not going to be long. So the video is not going to be long, and also when I'm not going to make shit, it's going to be long. But I'm quite excited. We've been working on this. We've been working on it. We've been working on it, and people have accidents have happened. The equipment was stolen, so that set us back with the videos. But I'm going to show this promo now, and then I'll speak to you with regards to the videos that will be made available soon. So just hold tight.
Revive, rejuvenate, reform. Come Apart and Rest a While 2023 is a one-week health conference in the beautiful Welsh countryside of Cefn-Lee. Come taste and see that the Lord is good. Come and see the Word of God open up before your eyes. Come learn of Him, be equipped and spiritually revived. Come and hear our wonderful workshops on how to rejuvenate your health, the true wealth. Come join our experienced exercise therapists each day, or try a taste of our treatment rooms to refresh your stay. This health conference is calling you from the 28th of August to the 3rd of September to come apart and rest a while. Revive, rejuvenate, reform. Bookings are now open. See you there.
Right. So that's I don't know what you thought about that, but that's another one of our promos. We don't just have one promo, we have a multiple promos, and we're just trying to encourage you to come and rest apart, rest a while. Cefn-Lee 2022 was good, but Cefn-Lee 2023 is still coming. So my news that I wanted to share, I'm just going to share screen once more, if I can see it. Hang on. Let's see. One more. Just hang on a minute. Just give me a moment. Where is it? Can you just carry on for a minute, Sean? I'm just going to do this.
Okay. Right then. Just working on the echo. Right. So it was a nice, if there's anybody on here who hasn't booked yet, but you're thinking about it, as we said in our earlier promos, try and book early to prevent disappointment, because we know that the caravans are booking up. They're almost all gone. But maybe there's one or two that are still available, but they are getting booked up. So if you are considering, please book soon to avoid disappointment. Contact the numbers on there, and hopefully you'll be able to get the accommodation that you desire. There are combinations. There's caravans, there's a bungalow which has smaller rooms, and then there are cabins, do we call them chalets? Sorry, chalets. And that is a combination of, there's ensuite chalet rooms and there's standard chalet rooms. The standard chalet rooms, you have 3 bedrooms to a chalet. All 3 bedrooms share the kitchen area and the bathroom area, whereas the ensuite, they have 3 bedrooms to a chalet. They share the kitchen area, but the bathroom, you have an individual bathroom in your own bedroom. So the bedroom can house between 4, 5 or 6 individuals, depending on which chalet you're booking. And we also have access for disability access. There's wet rooms in some of the en-suites, and there's wheelchair access in some of the rooms, chalets as well. So please, if you were interested and you need access, contact us as soon as possible, and we can hopefully allocate you to the chalet that you require, or caravan or bungalow room. Okay, they're all self-catering rooms, but we do provide meals on site for those who want to have a rest from cooking for the week. There's catering provided. The cost is good for everything, okay? Whether you're going on self-catering or catered, the cost is going to be good. And there's going to be treatments available as well as consultations and presentations. So contact us for more information, and I will have a look at the chat and see. There was a query. Struggling with a 2-week-old ankle sprain that I had cabbage on. Any suggestions, please? Okay. I will consider that one. And if there are any medical missionaries on here, we'll consider that one, and we'll see if we can answer that after Edgar's promo.
Hi again. So this is what I've been waiting to share. We will be releasing some of the videos and audios from Catherine Lee 2022. Literally, we are in the process of just putting the finishing touches to the videos and so on. Now, if you're interested, this is the YouTube channel that is going to be coming on. So if you look at the actual name, it's at Come Apart and Rest. Now, what I'm encouraging you to do, please, if you subscribe to the channel, so I'm encouraging everybody to subscribe to the channel, and then when the videos are uploaded, which should be hopefully by the end of the weekend, hopefully this weekend, might be Monday. When you subscribe, you'll get a notification, and we're going to upload probably 2 or 3 videos, and then the following week probably some more videos, and then we're just going to do it. So there'll be a succession of videos and audios that will be uploaded from Catherine Lee. So that's my news. I've been working on this. We've been working on it for months, and as I said, we've had some problems, but we're now at the point where we're just about ready to release them. So please subscribe, and if you'd like to give us a donation, that will help, because we put a lot of work into this. Subscribe, and then when they're uploaded, which hopefully should be by the end of this weekend, you'll get a notification to say, yes, the videos are coming. And when I say they're coming, they will continue to come until they're all uploaded. And that's also an encouragement to say, look, you know, the videos are good, but you can't beat the real thing. So please book for Catherine Lee 2023, and I will sign off.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Edgar. Appreciate that. Did you just oh, you've got the screen share on. Maybe you want to leave it on there for a little bit longer.
Did everybody hear?
Did everybody, was you all able to hear, Edgar? Can anyone respond with a audible yes or no?
Yes.
You could. Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much, Medical Missionary Group. So yes, so the question has been asked and the answers are coming in fast. I did have an answer of my own as well as I came off on the, you know, as Edgar was presenting, I did consider something because it sounds like a sports kind of injury. I mean, you might not have been playing sports, but it's a sporty kind of injury, the sprain. It's been going for 2 weeks. The initial thing would be, you may have done that already because it's been going on for 2 weeks, would be RICE. I'm not saying put rice on your ankle, but it's an acronym for rest, ice, compression, and elevation. And I would also add to it T for time, because a sprain can take a while to recover, but you will get there. You will get there. So with a sports science background, I would always go with that one. RICE, rest, ice, compression, and elevation, and add to that one T for time. But you will get there. I know I've done my ankles really badly playing football, soccer, to some would say, and not being as young as I used to be when I first started playing. It took a bit longer for me to recover. Okay, so there's a couple of comments in the chat from the Medical Missionary Group. Was that yourself, Irene, or Jackie? And if so, would you like to read through your comment just in case somebody wants a bit more explanation? But thank you for that feedback. I'll invite you to unmute.
You're welcome. Yeah, so I was saying.
Thank you, Jackie. Hi, Jackie.
How's Irene?
Oh, wow. You two sound too similar.
Yeah, so I was saying that you could do a hot and cold foot bath. I did that for my brother when he sprained his ankle, and it was really bad as well. And he had it for quite a few weeks. So you can put hot water in a bowl, put cold water in another bowl, and put your feet in the hot water for 3 minutes, and then in the cold for 30 seconds. And then you put it back in the hot, back in the cold, then back in the hot, and then back in the cold, and you end there, and you just dry your feet. And you can then rub them with, or massage your foot with comfrey oil if you have it. And you can use wintergreen oil, which is very good for inflammation and for pain. You could use other essential oils, but I just put wintergreen there because that one's fantastic for the pain. You could also add peppermint for the stimulation of blood flow, and frankincense, which is also very healing. And another thing you can do, which I wrote down there, is to get comfrey leaves, which are blooming very well now. You just have to recognize them. And then you bruise them until it's really broken up. It's like pulp, all the juices come out, and it's gone soft. And then you put that over your ankle and cover it with a kitchen tissue, and you keep that in place with cling film. And you can keep that on for about 3 to 4 hours, and then refresh it. And that one also, if you do that in the night, so you can just put it on after you've had your wash or shower or whatever. Put it on, the poultice on, and then you go to sleep with it, and you can just take it off in the morning. So those are some options there that really make a difference. And prayer, of course. Don't forget to pray.
Thank you so much for that. Hopefully you got that one. there's one other question, and I think we're going to wrap up now because it's almost been 2 hours. The time has flown by so quickly. We aim to finish and allow you to get up and do some exercise if you're not doing that whilst you're listening by 6 o'clock. But thank you so much for that response there, Irene. Okay, so there's a question. Is there a protocol for a health challenge called scleroderma? I'm not sure what scleroderma is. So if that person can just message me with their phone number, I'll look into that one and get back to you, unless it's something that the Medical Missionary Group have come across. Scleroderma. Derma, something to do with the skin, sclero. Okay, we'll work on that one. Okay, yeah, I think we'll leave that one. And so, yeah, if you send me a direct message with your number, I'm sure it's somebody that I am familiar with. But just remind me with your number, and then we'll get back to you shortly. Okay.
Yeah, scleroderma is an autoimmune disease, so it will have to what we'll have to do is strengthen the immune system for one, and then I'm sure there's can do to deal with the symptoms.
Thank you so much for that. So yeah, and there's a lot of things that we could do for the immune system, and one of them is the hot and cold. You know, you said that for the ankle, the hot and cold, putting your foot in the hot bath and the cold bath, but the hot and cold showers is a great boost for the immune system. Obviously, if there's other particular conditions where it's a contraindication, like you might have an open wound, or there's another contraindication where you shouldn't do it. I can't remember what it is right now. So look it up. Okay. Contraindications for hot and cold treatments, when you shouldn't do it. And as Irene said, that the ratio 3:1, so you spend more time in the warm and a little burst in the cold. So if it's 30 seconds with the cold and 3 minutes in the hot, okay, you can do it that way, but you're going to finish with the cold, close those pores, and then towel dry. So you may dab with the towel to dry and warm up, and you'll be fine. I'm not saying that's the full answer, that's the full protocol, but that's something that you can do to help boost your immune system. Those of us who may have been struggling with colds, and you know, the weather's kind of 1 minute's warm, 1 minute's cold, and many people are being told, oh, hey, you need to have another booster. Okay, whenever I have my hot and cold showers, to me, that's my personal booster shot. That's how I, because I find it hard to do. I'm not going to lie, it's not easy, but I know that I'm boosting my immune system. So I'll say, okay, that's one of my medicinal activities that's free and does so much. So I will take this as an opportunity to thank everybody again. We'll say goodbye to those of you who have joined us on YouTube. And Edgar's saying goodbye as well. He's got no more to add, so we're going to switch off the YouTube. And if those of you who are still on here on Zoom, you may wish to unmute and just say hi, where you're joining us from. Long time no see. And you might have a message you might want to, I don't know, personally thank Irene for coming on here and sharing with us and inspiring us this afternoon.